WTH.
What the hell?
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 This is the WTH, the WTH podcast.
Hold on to your butts.
Jason Casey, Kareem Daniels, and Nate Darling. This is the WTH podcast.
Hello, and welcome into another episode of the WTH podcast. Kareem is back. Hello.
I'm back, bitches.
Jason is still here.
Yo.
I mean, he went home to take care of his children, but he's...
No, did I? Did I, though?
I'm guessing you went home. Guessing you went home.
I did.
And sold it.
I did.
We had a lot to get to on the show today. It's been a very busy week. We have some news on Kit Harington post Jon Snow.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. We'll hear about Marilyn the Peregrine.
Oh.
In small town news, and a supersized Florida corner.
Yes.
But before we get to all that, we have an announcement to make. We have been asked, after a podcast dropped out, to participate in the Sacramento Podcast Festival. And we said, sure.
Why not?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Sunday, 3 p.m. at Stab on Broadway.
That's with an exclamation point.
Yep. Stab on Broadway. It is between 17th and 18th Streets, I believe.
Yep. It's across from the fish and game store.
Yeah, there's a big Chase Bank on Broadway. It's across the street from there.
Yeah.
You'll find it in that same little thing. It's just down the block from the Dimple. It's between the Dimple and the New Helvetia Brewery.
Ooh, it's actually, very close. Like, go down New Helvetia, have a beer.
Well, we're going to do that after. If you want to join us, if you want to join me, and I can't speak for you guys, but if you want to join me after the show wraps up at about 4:00, I'm going to head over to New Helvetia and hang out with anybody who wants to hang out for a smidge.
Boom.
So that is Sunday, 3 p.m. at Stab on Broadway. You can get your tickets in advance, $5 for our show, or you can do a day pass for $10. That'll be all the podcasts for one day, or you can do a 3-day pass for $25.
Boom.
Ironically, there's no 2-day pass.
Interesting.
It's a 1-day pass. It's a single show, a 1-day pass, or a 3-day pass. I think their issue was math.
Yeah.
Or you can just say like the third one is all access.
Whatever works for you. But there's going to be a bunch of podcasts. Bless you. Going to be a bunch of podcasts there this weekend for the inaugural Sacramento Podcast Festival. So happy to be a part of that. And we go on at 3 p.m., the coveted second spot of the day.
Yay.
Oh, yeah.
That sweet 3 p.m. on Sunday podcast.
Sweet.
Now, will you be able to hear it if you don't go to Stab? Maybe.
Who knows?
Maybe. Which it should be recorded. And if it is recorded, we will put it out later. I don't know exactly when, but we'll put it out later.
One day.
So that you'll be able to hear it, but I'm not going to tell you when. So if you're around Sacramento, please come on out and say hey, support the show. We'd love to see some friendly faces. It would be fantastic to get a few people in there. There's going to be people in anyway, I'm sure, who have bought day passes, who want to hang out and watch some podcasts, but it would be nice to have some of our peeps there. When I posted it on social media, I got a lot of likes from people who listen to the show who don't live within 1,000 miles of here.
Well, maybe they'll fly in.
Sure.
There you go. That's what I was looking for. That's some optimism.
Coming in for that random 3 p.m. Sunday show.
You know it.
Not on a 3-day weekend.
Not on a 3-day weekend. Nope. That was last weekend. Come on.
Yep.
Airfare rates are awesome this weekend.
It's something. Oh, and speaking of last week to this week. So remember when it felt like winter a couple of days ago around Sacramento? It was in the 50s and it was raining.
Yes.
Yeah. Next week, 95.
No.
Yes, sir. We're going right into summer.
That's the way it goes, bro.
Right into summer.
That's the way it goes, bro.
It's been a very weird season.
Oh,
Mhm.
it's crazy. The fact that they had snow in the mountains last weekend.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, everything's normal. Although I will say this, because you go back to Facebook and it has memories from this date and whatever. I believe it was 8 years ago. This past weekend, I posted about there were downpours. So it's not like it hasn't happened. It does happen every now and then, but the amount of rain that we got as late in the season as we did, and the drought is officially over in California, at least for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
After that, who knows?
Yeah, who knows? I mean, maybe the San Joaquin River will come back.
Well, it's not my problem. it really, I can only do so much.
You can. That's true.
Only do so much. All righty, gentlemen. Jason, as you take a sip, let me ask you, Kareem, how was your week? How have you been?
Oh, God. Last week was stressful. My mom ended up in the hospital for being hard-headed. So that was why I missed you guys last week.
Right.
So she's in a rehab facility right now until Saturday. So I'm going to go by there in the morning because the doctors do their rounds on Wednesday.
Right.
Make sure that they don't try to keep her in there permanently because she doesn't really need to be in there.
Well, there are worse things. I mean, I'm sure she wouldn't be thrilled with it.
Yeah. And then, so that was that. But the rest of the weekend, after she went in the facility, the week got a whole lot better.
Got quiet?
Got quiet. I was able to get stuff done for the exhibition, which opens on Friday. So that's officially hung like me. Before Nate said it.
I already said it in the Facebook chat.
Yeah. So that's up and ready to go. Thank you, Jason, for inviting me to do the Anti-Cooperation League on Saturday.
You're welcome.
That went pretty well.
Good.
That was really good. You guys did a great job.
Oh,
I don't know if I told you that.
Was Jason there?
He was there.
Oh, that's a refreshing change of pace.
So he was there. And then I actually did a guest set on the show after. That I might have to get back on stage soon after that. And then we got, me and Alex got some of the more video edited Saturday. And I don't know if I said this before, but I actually have enough material to do a full-length documentary. So that's the next step in the project.
Yeah, we had talked about that at lunch, but we haven't mentioned that on the show before.
So I have 3 hours worth of interviews with a variety of people. So it's not one person for 3 hours.
Sure.
So that could be bad. But
I will caution you against going 3 hours.
Yeah, no, we're not going 3 hours. So, but it was interesting because when we were talking about what we needed to finish it or to turn it into a real documentary. One of the things I said was I needed an expert. Well, at the Anti-Cooperation League show, turns out that there was one who had done a paper and research on Black imagery in media. So
there you go.
There's my expert for that part of the documentary. So again, thank you, Jason.
You're welcome.
So I'm excited for the show to open, and then I'm a little nervous too. But yeah, so Friday should be good.
Yeah,
I've gotten over 2,000 people who are liked or interested in coming through. So,
and that is what time?
It's Friday between 6 and 10 at the Brick House Art Gallery at 36th and Broadway. And then Saturday, we'll still be there. The Sacramento Black Book Fair opens Saturday morning. So the show will be going on through there. And then it runs May 31st through June 29th.
So the photos will be up the whole time. But
the whole time.
The short film that you have will be on
June 20th.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Jason, how about you? What have you been up to?
So Chris and I, we put our house on the market last week.
Saw that.
Yeah. Because we had found this house. We were out for a day. our dates have consisted of when her parents were here and with her mom here, what was after she had the baby going to open houses. So that's a lot of fun, but we happened upon a house that was like everything we wanted in a home, like amazing, perfect, and whatnot. Decided to put an offer on it. Our realtor jumped and was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's get your house on the market. We can do this. So we saw the house on Sunday, like at 2 p.m. We had a signed offer, financing, everything set up by Tuesday, and our house on the market, and photos of our house done, and our house on the market by Wednesday. And we have an infant right. and a 2.5-year-old. And if you ever sold a house or looked at a house online before, you have to have a very clean house. So the house, like I thought the house looked pretty amazing, pretty cleaned up for having people living in it.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw the photos.
So anyhow, so that's really what we did this last week. We had open houses on Saturday and Sunday. I had a show on Saturday night. I did 2 shows on Saturday night. Just exhausted. Like I probably was so exhausted that I shouldn't have done any shows. Like I should probably still be like, convalescing.
Sure.
Anyhow, so that's what we did. We did not get an offer on our house
yet,
but we put an offer on the house with a contingency, and that contingency is going to be up in a few days. So we haven't had an offer on the house. We had people that were interested, but to try to sell a house in 5 days. It probably needs another week or 2 on the market to have more foot traffic through the house. We had like 15 groups of people,
sure,
and only like 4 realtors with people that came through.
I read the description and I found the way it was written very interesting. Clearly, your realtor wants to sell it to a doctor.
Yeah,
because it's already in the medical center corridor, and I'm like, wait, what's that now?
Yeah.
Is that a thing now?
Yeah,
I guess it is. I mean, if you're a doctor at UC Davis or Shriners, it's a great location.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a perfect location, especially if you're a young resident or something of that nature. So yeah, I mean, and your parents can afford it.
You're a young gentrifier.
Yeah, well, whatever. I mean, that's didn't.
If you're a second generation, you're not really gentrifying anymore.
Well, and there's actually people before us.
See, so
and they bought the house, I think, in 2004 for their son that was in medical school.
Yeah,
and
that's when they started gentrifying.
Yeah, and I'm just saying, so we're moving to our neck of the woods in Tahoe Park.
That's true.
No, I mean, it was actually on like in Colonial High. Anyhow, it was a nice house. It was a beautiful house. So we might get it. We'll not know. We're lowering the house price a little bit, but I told Chris too that like, we really love our house and our location, and like, there's some people that look at the being next to a corner store as a big as something that's bad or negative. And maybe it's just because I've lived there long enough that I see it as a positive. Like it's like living near the city. It's like city living. And it's one of the things I love about it. So whatever you don't like our house, fuck you, man. We'll live there forever, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
And then also take care of a kid.
Yeah, I feel that. Yeah, for me, it was a weird week. We were busy because, as we discussed briefly last week, we now have a 3-month-old in the house. And while she's great, having a 3-month-old is a lot of energy to be focused on stuff. So we've got that. We have a dog with heart failure. He's been having heart failure for quite some time. So he did an overnight at UC Davis last week. And earlier today, as we were recording this on Tuesday, he spent the afternoon there again, getting a small procedure done. So a lot of time at the vet this past week. Meanwhile, still searching for an office space. And on a positive note, I've discovered orange vanilla Coke Zero.
Okay.
I mean, I know it existed before, but I'm going with the Columbus method. I've discovered orange vanilla Coke Zero.
And how is it?
It's as delightful as the West Indies.
No.
Yes.
Really?
It's refreshing.
No way.
It's absolutely refreshing.
I don't believe you.
Mm-hmm. Earlier today, I had a little. I was drinking a Diet Orange Crush. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I had forgotten that I still had about a quarter of a can left of it. And I opened a can of the orange vanilla Coke Zero. And we were heading out to bring the dog to the vet. And so I put some ice in the old Yeti, and I dumped the Orange Crush and the orange vanilla Coke Zero for a super orangey soda experience, which, by the way, quite good.
Oh yeah.
Was it like a creamsicle?
No, it wasn't quite that orangey. I mean, you're never going to get past that Coke Zero flavor. That just powers through everything. So that was my week. Want to get into a little bit of something. History was made over the weekend as All Elite Wrestling had their very first event, Double or Nothing in Las Vegas. It did some very big numbers on pay-per-view, a $50 event, which in wrestling terms is pretty big because WWE has gone to their network, which is $9.99 a month.
Yeah.
So I believe they did 200,000 buys, which is a big number. It's been very highly anticipated. Fantastic show. Absolutely worth it. Really, for the most part, top notch all the way through.
Top notch. It was some top notch wrestling.
The artist formerly known as Goldust wrestled his brother, Cody, and he did a little blading, and he
old school wrestling.
Oh my God, he bled so much. He's like
his daddy.
Oh, it was pretty brutal, but fantastic. And I'm excited, and it's All Elite Wrestling is coming to TNT this fall on Tuesdays, so I'm very excited for that, as are a lot of people who are wrestling fans. Monday night, WWE did Monday Night Raw, and the first hour was just complete dog shit. Complete and utter dog shit, and trying to push to their Saudi Arabia event. And while I'm not going to stop watching WWE, and I'm not going to cancel the network or anything like that, I will not watch their Saudi Arabia events. They've had two I've watched, other than Titus O'Neil falling under the ring. And that was really just a short little gif. Other than that, I've watched none of their Saudi Arabia shows, and that will continue because they do get numbers. They know how many people watch these things. So
yeah.
That's my little way of protesting. So the reason I bring up All Elite Wrestling, in addition, other than I'm super stoked on it. So Cody Rhodes is married. He's white, and his wife is African American, and they've been very big in All Elite Wrestling about making it a company for everyone and being very inclusive. And that was one of the questions that came Cody's way in the press conferences after the event. And here's what he said.
A lot of diversity in this show. Is that something that's intentional, or is it just that you're opening the doors for people of different genders, people of different colors, people of different races, ethnicities? How did you go about making that decision to have it be more diverse?
Well, I'm in an interracial marriage, and I've learned a lot that I would have never known. One time I told Brandy, I said, I don't have a racist phone. I said, I don't see color. And she said, well, then you don't see my experience. And I thought, oh, you're right. I can't just say that. You need to be able to see that experience.
Buffering.
And at least understand it. and the old territory system of just one. And a lot of folks may remember that. That's out. That's out. The best wrestlers are gonna field the game, and that's a very diverse profile. And I'm really proud of it. But I know we're not gonna make that. We're gonna promote them as wrestlers. That's all the elements of diversity. We're not gonna make it a PR element for us, and that I'm really proud of because it's about the wrestling.
Interesting answer to a interesting question posed by World's Strongest Man and WWE Hall of Famer Mark Henry, who has a show on Sirius XM. Kareem, what do you think when you hear that explanation?
That was a good answer. That might have been the best answer that a white person could give to that question.
He's been married to her for quite some time, and they live in Georgia.
Yeah.
So they're surrounded by a bunch of stuff, and they've talked about it in the past, kind of some of the reaction they get from some people when you're talking about an interracial marriage.
Well, white people that say that they don't see color are people that don't want to face racism.
Yeah, you just go, look, I'm not racist. I have no issue with anybody.
Yeah. So if that's your answer, then that's cool. But when you say I don't see color, then you're really just trying to avoid racism and everything that comes with it. And so you're not acknowledging what, in that case, you would be not acknowledging what your partner has to deal with.
Right.
It'd be like you guys walk around it would be almost like,
why are you looking at her like that, you weirdo?
Yeah. It'd be like you walking around with that person and they're experiencing something that they know where it comes from, and you're looking at them like, well, I don't see color, so I don't know why you're saying that. My sister went to Germany. No, she went to Europe for work, and she went with one of her coworkers. I think it was one of her bosses, and he was white, and he's never been anywhere in a situation where he was with them going together. It made him look like a couple, and before that trip, he didn't really listen to or pay attention to her when she would explain stuff to him about racism. And then after that trip, during that trip, they would get looks, and he would start to notice the different way that she was treated as compared to him. And so that was like an eye-opening experience for him. So he could no longer go to the don't see color thing. So
now, is it different when you're talking about an interracial couple where it is an African-American woman and a white guy, as opposed to an African-American guy and a white woman?
Yeah.
It feels different, but I don't know.
It's different. I want to say that's kind of more accepted.
Really?
But then
by who?
And that's generally it too. It is by who, because, well, it's the thing. Well,
look, I've seen the Jeffersons. I know how those couples, how that couple dynamic goes. Because the Willises, it was the African-American wife and the white husband, and George Jefferson had an issue.
Yeah, but then black women end up having issues with you if you date outside of.
Sure.
And part of that, it was weird because for me, I like women, period. I don't care if you're polka dotted, we're good. If you polka dotted and we get along, we're good.
But and you're sexy as fuck.
You're sexy as fuck, yeah. But people want to make you have a.
Man, you can look like a whale and have water come out your spout, and I'd still think you were sexy.
Yeah. People want to make you have a preference when it comes to that.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, well, you just date. Like, no, I date whoever. It just right now, that's the person I'm dating.
And some people do have a very specific preference.
Yeah. So, I kind of have an issue with those people because it's kind of like that's something.
Man, don't knock it, man. If it wasn't for that, my wife never would have fallen in love with me. I had like a very sweet spot with her.
But I'm saying that's something like, to me, that's kind of like fetishizing people.
I'm fine with being a fetish. Have you ever tried not being a fetish? All right, man. You know who says that? people that are sexy. All right.
I'm sorry. Don't hate me because I'm beautiful.
You can call it a fetish, but really all it does is open a door. It's an opener. Exactly. Now, whether you choose to have a relationship after that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
So if you're looking to hook up, that's one thing. It's another. Hey, so big news out of England this past week, with Brexit being, well, the biggest clusterfuck in Europe for God since a week or two ago. So they voted for Brexit to leave the European Union, and they can't figure out how to do it. So the prime minister has resigned because she can't get her done. And so the media is covering this, and they were asking a group of 3 people about, what about Theresa May and her resignation? And well, I don't think this was the answer they were expecting.
Oh, and you say you don't have much sympathy for her?
I've got less than no sympathy for her. She didn't publicly break down over the victims of Windrush, who, because of her policies, were driven from their homes, denied medical care, and even kicked out the country. She didn't cry publicly over the dozens of working-class people who burned to death in Grenfell Tower. She didn't weep publicly over those who've had their benefits stripped from them, those driven to food banks because of her policies, the victims of universal credit. I think, our media can often express far more sympathy for the powerful. In her case, she will lead, no doubt, a comfortable and affluent life to her very end.
Buffering.
Rather than the victims of their policies, who, I'm afraid, have been driven into misery, insecurity and turmoil as a direct result. Let's think about those people.
You can't just respond at a human level.
I have responded on a human level. I've spoken about the humanity of those who have suffered as a consequence of her policies, and I wish the news would give far more space to them rather than spending time discussing the Prime Minister crying because she can no longer hold the most powerful job in the country.
Burn!
He was so politely trying to get out of that. Like the guy interviewing, he's like, well, could you speak from a human level? He's like, I have spoken for humanity, you fucking douchebag.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with all the things that he was talking about in that because I don't follow news in the UK that closely. But yeah, that was fantastic. Just trying to take the easy way out and go, oh, don't you feel bad for her because she had to step down and then she cried.
Like, you dumbasses, y'all voted for something that I feel those are the same people that voted for Donald Trump. That voted for Brexit.
Were there a bunch of black people who didn't bother to roll out to vote either way just because?
No.
Okay. Then it's not quite the same.
No, it's pretty much the same. They voted for somebody thinking.
They voted because there was a bus tour that said, "Oh, it's going to be this national." It was nationalist pride, and it was just stupid because there was no thought into how it actually worked,
or how they would actually do it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. By the way, we've got all of these things intertwined. What about a passport? What about getting from point A to point B?
What about Ireland?
Yeah. Oh,
have you heard about that shit?
It's a mess.
I read a whole article about how they were worried that separation and putting up of a fence in that area, which has not had one for the last 15 years, which is quelled this huge onslaught of
violence and bombings and all of that.
The Irish invented the car bomb and hijacking people to do things like, hey, I have your family. You're going to drive this bomb into this building, into this site.
Right. Because
this border wall.
Northern Ireland is part of the UK.
Yeah.
And it's on the island of Ireland. And yeah, it's a bit of a mess.
So anyhow, finally tensions have quelled somewhat, and the fence hasn't been there for how many years. And they're like, we really do not want to put one up. We're going to do everything we can not to put this up.
Right.
But it's a port of entry.
Yeah. Sanity.
Feel sorry for Mom.
So Game of Thrones is over, and Jon Snow himself, Kit Harington, has checked into rehab for stress and alcohol. That's according to page 6. He has, It was before the show's finale aired. So it was a secret thing. It was a luxury rehab for stress and alcohol use. Is it because he was that? I mean, he hosted Saturday Night Live. So it was after he hosted Saturday Night Live, but before the finale. I mean, sure, you've got all of this stress of now what do I do? Because he's so closely associated with this character.
Yeah.
And this character,
and over 1.5 million people have said that they hated how your story ended. Like, I wonder if he had a inkling about that before and was just waiting on it. Just waiting on that to happen. I mean, we talked about the Game of Thrones finale last week, and shows end in disappointing ways all the time. It was a disappointing ending. Just kind of how they wrapped everything up. There were a lot of things that were disappointing in kind of how it was done. And, it's one of those things. But for the actors, there was the documentary that was on Sunday about Game of Thrones, the behind the scenes, and the reactions that the actors had at the table read to things happening. You could see how closely they were identifying with all of these characters. It was like it's like, oh my God, I have to kill you. It was that whole thing. So I kind of get the stress of it, but actors can be very gentle souls, shall we say.
Did you watch Leslie Jones and whatchamacallit?
No, I haven't watched that yet. The Game of Jones, no. So do not spoil that for me.
Okay.
It's on YouTube. Leslie and I are going to watch that together. It's just been, again, we have a 3-month-old in the house. It's been a little crazy.
Understood.
To try and watch stuff and not be exhausted because someone has to eat every 3 hours.
No. Yeah, I know what that's like.
Exactly.
You should watch, which is really easy to watch if you haven't, because it's like 15-minute increments, 15-minute increments. Also, is Eric Andre's show. I watch that a lot when I'm up with the kid in the middle of the night.
Yeah, I'll watch stuff on YouTube, but the Game of Jones is one thing that Leslie and I want to watch together.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. Watch Eric. If you haven't watched Eric Andre's show, it's ridiculous and stupid, but I found it fucking hilarious. Hannibal Buress on it.
Yeah.
And Hannibal's so fucking hilarious.
Nice. Speaking of really weird and stupid things, a convicted felon who accidentally shot himself in the genitals last month in an apartment in Kashmir. Yeah, his problems did not stop there. His name's Cameron Jeffrey Wilson. He's 27. He had a pistol tucked into his front pocket back in April when the gun discharged, sending a bullet through his testicles.
Ow.
And into his thigh.
Oh.
Now, instead of going directly to the hospital, he told his girlfriend to first drive to Lincoln Park, where he gave the pistol to a friend. A 13-time convicted felon, it is illegal for him to possess a firearm. So as the doctors and nurses performed surgery, a balloon containing marijuana slipped out of his anus.
Oh my God.
Wait, what? Why did he have marijuana in his anus, dude?
Again, there's a lot going on here. The sheriff's detectives were notified that he had suffered a gunshot wound and then responded to the hospital. They searched the car and found a bag of methamphetamine inside a pair of blood-stained jeans that he'd taken off before going into the hospital.
Wow.
Detectives declined to arrest Wilson at the hospital, instead issued an arrest warrant on suspicion of second-degree felon in possession of a firearm and unlawful possession of meth as opposed to the lawful kind.
They didn't want to deal with that. They didn't want to deal with that recovery or any of that. I was like, oh no. Somebody was like, yeah, we're going to bring him to after he's healed.
Oh man.
Sure. And then he turned himself in on April 18th. The detective told the corrections officers, of his proclivity to store marijuana in unconventional places. So during a strip search, another balloon of marijuana fell out of his anus.
Wow.
He was arrested and charged with possession of a controlled substance in a correctional facility. But his legal troubles would continue. We're not done. From the jail, he made multiple calls to his girlfriend asking her not to cooperate with investigators, according to an affidavit filed April 26th. Authorities listened to the calls and then charged him with 4 counts of tampering with a witness.
That's not witness tampering. That's being president.
On May 1st, he pleaded not guilty to second-degree felony and possession of a firearm and unlawful possession of meth, as well as possession of a controlled substance at a correctional facility. Trials are going to be in June. He's being held in the Regional Justice Center on this seems low, $110,000 bail.
Oh.
I wish there was a way that I could just highlight that part about telling his wife, his girlfriend, not to testify. Like, just highlight, like, that what Kareem said is so true.
It's just a lot going on.
It's so ridiculous. Oh, but out of his like, who hides marijuana in their anus? I think this is what's going on. This is what I think is going on, right? I don't know who hides. I'm just saying, who hides marijuana in their anus? There's no reason to do that.
Well, not in California. It's legal here.
But no, but at the same time too, like, if that's really your thing, like, just fucking put it in the balloon and swallow it, because it's not gonna explode. You know what I mean? Like, rather than stick it up your asshole, like.
Yeah, I mean, it's marijuana. Like, if it dissolves in your stomach, you're not going to die.
Yeah, so you could just go ahead and swallow. Like, there's no reason to just like
I could understand sticking a meth up your ass.
Yeah, right, because you can't use all the meth right now. But like what do you have? Like what could you? How much marijuana could you fit up your asshole? Like 2 or 3 bowls? Like 3.5 grams?
Apparently there was room for more because it keeps falling out.
Well, no, you stuck some more up. Somebody passed him some.
It keeps falling out.
Oh man, I guess penis sized. I guess that's how much you can fit up your ass. You had to stretch it out.
I think the problem is he keeps doing it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But here's my thing: is I think he was actually on his way to a 420 party inside the jail.
Yeah,
that's what he was on his way to go to.
He's on his way to a 4/220 party. Yeah. That's what he's gonna get. All right, let's move forward. Oh, by the way, we've done all of this announcement. I want to thank anybody who's been shopping Amazon through the Shop Amazon tab at the top of WTHpod.com. We do appreciate it. There's also the Shop Target tab, so go ahead and do that. And if you weren't aware, we are on YouTube. You can listen to the show on YouTube as well as on your Amazon Alexa.
What the hell?
Yep, we are on the YouTube.
Let's leave the...
Not yet.
Florida. Land of enchantment.
There we go.
And crazy shit. This is Florida Corner.
Headline, motorist explains to detectives why he did not pull over when the squad car flashed its lights. Now, despite being tailed by a squad car with lights flashing, a motorist told cops that he did not immediately pull over after running a red light because his pants were down and he was receiving sexual acts from his female passenger.
That's a good reason to keep moving.
David Herring was behind the wheel of a Ford F-150 when he went through a red light at an intersection in Fort Pierce. Police detectives spotted the infraction and activated their car's emergency lights. Herring, who did not immediately pull over, later told police it took him so long to stop the vehicle because his pants were down and he was receiving sexual acts from Rhonda while he was driving.
Oh, yeah.
The Rhonda in question was Rhonda Koppenhofer, who's 55, who had a Bud Light bottle between her legs and a crack pipe and crack rocks near her feet.
Oh, damn.
She's 4'11" and 90 pounds of fun.
What'd she look like?
What did she look like? Well, let me scroll back. There she is.
She's 55?
She's 55.
Holy shit, man. Holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Now, she's denied ownership of the pipe. Herring said she dropped it when police tried to pull over the vehicle. She then admitted to purchasing cocaine that was found in the truck. When a detective first contacted her, he observed something white rolling around in her mouth.
Please swallow that.
Court records did not reflect any traffic charges being filed against Herring, so it appears as though the Fort Pierce man has gotten off.
I couldn't give him a ticket after that.
In more ways than one. This is not good. A Florida woman was arrested early yesterday, so Monday, for striking her adult stepson with a leather belt 30 times after he was late for his midnight curfew. The victim punished for his tardiness is 26.
Yeah, you need to be out on your own.
The cops allege that Valerie Branch Galloway delivered the 12:30 a.m. belt lashing in the Largo home she shares with her husband, who is the father of the victim. He's been living there for the past 3 months, the 26-year-old, that is. Now, according to the arrest affidavit, she offered the victim his choice of 2 punishments for being 30 minutes late. She could tell his father, or he could endure the licks. He apparently picked the licks. As a result, he was struck 11 times in the buttock area before he told her to stop. However, cops allege that she said, "No, you have 19 more," and then delivered the rest of them. During police questions, she admitted striking her stepson 30 times with a leather belt in the buttock area for being late. She denied the victim had ever said to stop. Now, a police officer in Largo noted the victim still had bruising on his lower right back and hip area. The cops added, it should be noted the Vic is 26 years old. She was charged with domestic battery and booked Monday in the county jail on a misdemeanor count.
Oh, yeah. She should put his ass out when she got home. Be like,
I mean, he did choose that.
I was gonna say that almost like it's her stepson.
Have your shit and be out the house by the time I get out.
You're 26. You got a curfew.
Yeah.
Whatever. And finally, in Florida, a $500 fine has been issued for a suspect. Why? Well, he told cops his name was Ben Dover. When police found him in a Florida park after hours, he's been sentenced to pay a $500 fine in connection with a no-contest plea to an obstruction charge. Back in November, a deputy got into confrontation with a man who he tried to remove from a park in St. Petersburg. Asked to identify himself, the suspect responded by stating his name was Ben Dover. We've talked about this on the show before. After giving the cop the finger, Dover got in the deputy's face as if he was going to hit him. The suspect subsequently ran away but was collared after a short chase. Dover was, in fact, Andrew Layton, who's 22, arrested for obstruction and resisting an officer, and in a plea deal this month, he was ordered to pay $500 in combined court and prosecution costs after he entered a no-contest plea to a single misdemeanor charge. Who says we don't tell you what happens to these stories later on?
We always come back around, folks.
We try to, and that is Florida Corner.
Oh, shit. What you going to do with it?
I didn't have to pot it up.
I wasn't potted up.
That was freaking crazy.
There we go. That's what was going on. All right, let's wrap this show up.
Let's leave the hustle and bustle for small town news.
Yes, small town news from North Dakota. Marilyn Haggerty writes, Marilyn the Peregrine makes her way to Winnipeg.
Oh.
That's right, Marilyn is back in Winnipeg and all is well with the world. The news of the Peregrine raptor that bears my name, says Marilyn, comes from Tim Driscoll. He's the Grand Forks expert on raptors, and when 4 were born 3 years ago, he named one of them Marilyn. The others were named after local bird expert David Lambeth, the late Olympic athlete Cliff Cushman, and heavyweight boxer Muhammad Ali.
Oh.
Marilyn was among the chicks of the Terminator, longtime matriarch of Grand Forks. Now, Marilyn the Peregrine has been going back north to Winnipeg, and for the second year, she's produced chicks. I guess there's no need for me to worry about her during the winter. I did worry. She never writes. She never calls. But I figure she came back north on the Minnesota Flyway above the Thief River Falls, then on over the Middle River and into Canada. Knowing Marilyn, she wouldn't be likely to stop until she finds refuge in Manitoba. I mean, who doesn't?
Who doesn't? That's the best.
Last year,
soup.
Yeah, last year it was reported she produced 2. This year it may have been 4, although she didn't send any birth announcements. Hey, maybe she has a column in a little paper and she just writes her letters there.
Yeah, maybe she writes the letters to you in the Peregrine Falcon.
She reportedly lives on the outskirts of Winnipeg, of course. She has a mate called Sundance. The dictionary on my desk defines raptor as a bird of prey.
No fucking shit. God damn you, Marilyn. We all know that. We know that peregrines are one of the fastest of the birds of prey. Not only that, they can kill their prey. They knock their prey out in midair turn upside down, catch them, and then eat them.
Look at you.
Holy shit, Batman.
They're fucking dope. Peregrine falcons are awesome.
Now, the way I figure it is that Marilyn flew over the Honker Flats greenhouse on her way back to the Winnipeg area. During a visit there last week, Lou and Tammy Wallace showed all the corners of their greenhouse. It's operated by their son, Marcus. Now, Wallace started it as a 4-H project that was 43 years ago. Now their Honker Flats greenhouses are open to the public during the week. Oh, and by appointment on Sunday. Over the years, they've created their own Strawberry Weekend. It's a kickoff to the June is Dairy Month, which is important to Wallace with his lifetime of 4-H connections.
Oh.
After selling the dairy cows back in 2005, the Wallace family began to focus on the Minnesota Gladiolus Society. These days, the greenhouse is alive. The geese have flown over their summer home in Canada. May and June are most lively at Honker Flats. Summer moves on. Watermelons show up in the fall. In February and March, there's time to go ice fishing. Wow. Isn't that great?
You might be wondering what peregrine falcons eat that they have to hit in the air. It's other birds.
No kidding?
Other birds.
It's not a fish.
Nope.
Ooh, I would have thought like a salmon.
Nope, they eat other birds. Pretty cool.
Cannibals.
They don't give a fuck.
Cannibal Lecter.
They don't give a fuck. No, they do it for the sport of it. They're like, man, this is so much. Like, think about how much more difficult that is.
I don't believe that's in the. They do it for the sport of it. Fantastic. Just want to remind everybody again before we go, we will be live at the Sacramento Podcast Festival Sunday at 3 p.m. at the Stab Comedy Theater on Broadway. Tickets are $5 for our show. Get a day pass for $10 or a 3-day pass for $25, and the show kicks the festival. Again, the Podcast Festival kicks off Friday, Saturday, Sunday at the Stab Comedy Theater on Broadway in Sacramento. So come on out. All right, that'll do it for us for now. For Kareem and Jason, I'm Nate. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Yeah, later for moose soup. Oh my God! Dirty bitch! Come down for moose soup after!